Hello friends, I welcome all of you. My name is Ashish. In this video, I will talk about operating system which is being used on Cisco routers and switches. I'm sure that most of you know the purpose and definition of an operating system. It is basically an interface between us, that is human, and machine, because it is very difficult for us to work with machine in assembly language or in binary format, that is in 0 and 1. We can only use human readable language. Nowadays we use English. Alright. So similarly, to be able to operate on networking devices, we need to know what is the operating system being used. Here it is known as Cisco IOS, that is Inter-Network Operating System. There are other flavors as well which I want to talk about. So let's dive into the history to know more about it. So Cisco was built, or you can say it was made in 1980s, the early 1980s. Initially they came up with routers only. So for the routers they introduced iOS. Okay, and later on they wanted to enter into switches, the device which is used in LAN, but they were not able to do so. So what they did, they acquired one company named Crescendo. They were very successful in their hardware, which was named as Catalyst Switch series. So they acquired it, but their devices were working on different operating system named Cat OS. Its command line was totally different. In Cisco IOS, for configuring an interface, we have to follow some hierarchy. Like from user mode, we move to privilege mode, and from there we move to configuration mode, and then we type in interface and we type in the commands which were relevant or which are to be done for interface. This is how we follow the hierarchy. But in the Cat OS, it was simple, direct interface x/x space the command. So it was different. So what Cisco did, initially they kept on using this operating system along with the switching environment, that is Catalyst switches, and later on they started migrating from Cat OS to iOS. I still remember one exercise which was done when I was in Infosys. That was in 2007. We were told to migrate the Cisco 4500 series from Cat OS to iOS. So it was very difficult task because we needed to prepare the configuration commands which would work in iOS as well. So it was a daunting task which eventually happened. So we migrated to we migrated from Cat OS to Cisco IOS. So Cat OS was deprecated after that. But the problem with iOS was that it was actually bundled in a single piece for different functions. Like for routing, switching and security functions, it was a single file. So memory management was also not very proper, because initially it was designed for small and mid-sized companies. They were not aware that the size of companies would grow exponentially. The issue which I'll discuss with you is, let's say that there's an issue with memory allocation for routing function. That would also cause disturbance or problem for other functions like switching and security. In that case, the entire operating system would cause the system to or router to reboot or switch to reboot. So that was an issue, because in iOS the memory is allocated in blocks. So if one of the processes is stuck, then it will also cause issues with other processes, and that will actually cause high CPUs or poor performance, very weird kind of behavior in the network. And the first issue which I talked with you is that it was for small companies. So the service providers, they were looking for enhancement in iOS. So what Cisco did, they came up with two more flavors, iOS XR and XE. So XR was for service providers who were looking for a larger memory, better memory allocation, and separate memory for each of the functions, so that their devices don't have to be rebooted. So iOS XR was the solution for that. And with the growing demand of the cloud computing and virtualization, iOS was not at all the operating system any company would want, because it was not having the support. So virtualization and cloud computing wouldn't work in the iOS. So Cisco introduced Cisco iOS XE. If you have some idea about SD-WAN, you would find the WAN edges of CSR 1000, and these work on iOS XE. Okay, so it is mainly for large enterprises and service providers, and moreover its architecture is Linux based. So if you can see the screen, I have written down the main points. Okay, so let's also talk about one more OS, that is NX Nexus operating system. It is mainly for the data center switches like Nexus 2000, 3000, 5000, 7000, 9000 series. So it only works on those devices. So in this CCNA course and even in CCNP, you would not work on NX. So just for your information, that NX is a flavor which is for high-end data center switches. Okay. Command line is same. It is almost same, 99.9% same. Maybe in the iOS XE, instead of config terminal, it would be like a config dash transaction. Only cosmetic changes are there, but anybody who has worked on Cisco iOS would easily work on iOS XE and XR and even NX. Commands will be different, but command line is same, so you will not have any difficulty. Alright, NX also supports virtualized environment, so it can integrate with the Hyper-V and many with this ESXi. So there is no issue with that, but with iOS you can't do it. Let's also talk about the operating system which was in their firewall domain. So Cisco was not in the firewall as well. So I told you it was only in the routers. Then they acquired this switching company named Crescendo, and similarly, instead of acquiring a company of firewall, what they did collaboration and made a product named Pix, which is a firewall. And in that they used a custom OS. Okay, so Pix was very successful because it was supporting stateful inspection, network address translation, and suddenly it became very popular. So Cisco did acquisition with them next year, and for using it for 6-7 years, then they introduced a new product named Cisco ASA, that is Adaptive Security Appliance. Alright, so then they deprecated the Pix OS. And in that Cisco ASA as well, they use iOS. Command line is same. Once you log into Cisco ASA, you'll find it quite almost same. Nothing to worry. Command can be different, like instead of show IP interface brief, it will be show interface IP brief. That is fine, but the steps are same. anybody who is accustomed to iOS will find it easy to work in the firewall as well. All right. And you can also access these devices using GUI, but GUI is not the preferred way. I personally don't like it. So ideally you should be working on CLI, because CLI is fast and your fingers will do better work than GUI, right? So my suggestion is every engineer should work on the CLI only. All right. So this is it about it. Let me also tell you about the routers which are supporting this XR and XE series. For the Nexus one, I've told you Nexus 2K, which is FAX, 3K, 5K, 7K is a modular series, and then there's a 9K series which is also ACI. All are NXOS. And for this XR series, we have Cisco 8000 series. NCS is NCS 2000 and 4000 series. NCS stands for Network Convergence Series. Okay. Also the Cisco 12000 series GRS router. That is a giant routing systems. That is the definition of GRS. And for the iOS XE series, if you look at the screen, there are routers like Cisco ISR 1000 series, 4000 series. ISR stands for Integrated Service Routers. Then there is Catalyst 8000 series, ASR 1000. ASR is Aggregated Service Routers. CSR 1000V, this is for this SD-WAN thing, Cloud Service Router. And NCS 5K series is also there, which supports this iOS XE, okay, Network Convergence series. So this is all about the iOS. Don't need to worry about it. It is just an introductory video of the operating system. You don't need to go deep into that. However, you should be aware about these. Once you grow up the ladder in your career, you will definitely get a chance to work on Cisco ASA and many more vendors as well. So once you have ideas, then only then you can do comparison. All right. So if you have any feedback, you can please suggest, can write in comment or reach out to me one-to-one in the message box of this platform, and give the appropriate rating and feedback. Thank you so much for your time. Have a nice day.